Well, hello, everybody. This is Kid O'Toole, author of Michael Jackson FAQ, All That's Left to Know About the King of Pop, Songs We Were Singing, Guided Tours of the Beatles' Lesser Known Tracks. I'm also the co-editor of Fandom in the Beatles, the act you've known for all these years. I am also the co-host of Talk More Talk, a solo Beatles video cast. And welcome to my monthly show. And it looked like I wasn't going to be able to broadcast out in my backyard, Chaos and Creation in Kit's backyard, but the rain cleared. I can't believe it. So I was finally able to drag my setup outside and be in my backyard after all. So welcome, everybody. And this will probably be a much smoother broadcast than the last one I did, which was on the beach in Turks and Caicos, where I kept losing the signal. And, but it's the island. What do you expect? So this should be a lot smoother. So hello, everybody. Hi, Hudson. Hi, Steve. Great to see you all, and welcome. And for the first time, I am going to be uploading this to our Talk More Talk YouTube channel. So to all of you who are watching on that, welcome. This is a monthly show I do where I just fill you in on what I'm doing, what's coming up, appearances, podcast appearances, that kind of stuff. And then we do a discussion. Toward the end of the show, it's a music discussion where I just bring up a topic, related to music, and we have a really fun time discussing it. Hello, Nancy. Speaking of Turks and Caicos, one of my beach buddies just tuned in, Beach Nancy. So hello, everyone. Well, before we get to all that stuff, I know I teased it in my promos, a mystery guest. And so I want to bring on my mystery guest. He is someone that you all know very well. I like to say that he is the kind of a legend in the Beatles field. I remember coming across his name when, I think it was, for me, probably in the early 90s when I started getting into the Beatles, and I would see his name all the time, and never did I think that all these years later he would become a good friend. And so I am so excited to have him on the show to talk about something that's coming up that I think a lot of you will be very, very interested in. So I am so pleased to welcome to the show Charles Rosenay. So hello, Charles.
Kid, after that introduction, I'm like disappointed. I thought McCartney was coming on. I was like all excited, and then I realized it was me.
Well, Charles, I mean, you are a legend in the Beatles world. I mean, my gosh, you've been for so long having festivals. You've run fanzines. Everybody knows you.
Well, when I was listening to your introduction and so many books, so many podcasts, so many credits that you have, I don't know who wears more hats. One of us, it's either yourself on the air or myself for all the things that I've produced and promoted for so many years. The first convention was 1978.
My God.
The first tours to Liverpool, 1983. Good Day Sunshine for 20 years, and now going full circle because it's all about the music. It always was, and that's why we're doing Beatle music festivals as opposed to conventions and as opposed to other things. And it's just such a joy to be doing them and bringing fans the music again after all these months.
I was going to say, we need these festivals more than ever, right? I mean, it's been a long year. I mean, really. So tell us about this Fab Four Music Festival that's coming up.
So it's Saturday, July 10th in my home state of Connecticut. We've had it at a lot of different venues in the past, and we've brought it to a new location called Nolan Field, Giant Outdoors. We had to be outdoors in Ansonia, Connecticut, which is, if you know Connecticut or New England, it's part of Fairfield County, part of the Valley, part of New Haven. It's really a great place to have the event with bleachers and with a great stage and an open field. And our tagline is 10 great bands, one beautiful day. So we, the concentration, I always, bring up the conventions we used to have, which were not very different than other fests around the country where, there's major guests and one band and a ton of dealers and all that. It's not as commercial. It's about the music. It's 10 bands. Each band, which you'll love this, each band, I review their set lists to make sure that nobody repeats a song.
Oh, that's great.
So
Yeah.
from noon to 8 o'clock, whether it's One Sweet Dream doing McCartney music, the Navels, which they have a female lead singer doing the mid era, Mersey Beat Connecticut doing British Invasion, that kind of stuff, not necessarily Beatles. If it's Britain's Best from New Jersey, who are doing all the early Sullivan stuff. If it's Zilch, our One Monkeys band.
I was going to say, I saw you at a Monkeys band in there.
Sneaking in the Monkeys band. Double the Dial, who are young guys who are going to rock it with latter year stuff. And Number 9, who do the deeper cuts. The Black Ties, who do like the Cavern stuff and, the early, really high energy things. And our lead headliners, the Hoffners, as a plane goes by. I don't know if you heard that. The Hoffners, who do the wigs and the boots and the suits, and they're, the Beatlemania group. So you got 10 bands all doing different stuff.
Something for everybody.
Absolutely, absolutely. A handful of select, really quality vendors who are going to have, the memorabilia, the records, the CDs, just about something for everybody. And then food trucks, so that you're never hungry, whether it's ice cream or seafood, whatever, to make it feel festival, exactly. And then we have one special guest. Every year we bring in one person, just, from left field. We've had Gene Cornish from the Rascals. We've had Hilton Valentine, he should rest in peace, he just passed, from the Animals. Carl Green, the bassist from Herman's Hermits. We always try to get someone who's not an obvious Beatles guest, but has some kind of connection with the Beatles or the 60s. And this year we're bringing in none other than Brute Force, who was an Apple recording artist. George and John, they fell in love with the name of his song and the recording, King of Fa. And he's going to be performing it. He's going to be signing autographs, selling copies of the re-release, meeting fans, taking pictures. So, it's a great day. 10 great bands, one beautiful day, and multi-generational. Kid, that's what I go for when we started doing it. It was people who lived through the Beatles era, and the Beatles were no longer around. There was hope that they would someday reunite, and this was the late 70s and early 80s. In the early 80s, of course, there could never be a reunion for obvious reasons. But then as the 80s and 90s went on, it was parents bringing their kids, and this was great, new generation. Now it's it's grandparents bringing their kids, bringing their babies, and we love it. We're seeing the kids running around in the field, dancing Yellow Sub or I Want to Hold Your Hand or all that. It just makes me feel so good seeing that the music of the greatest music of all time will live on forever.
Yeah, that's the truth. I mean, and you just see it, at all kinds of conventions, podcasts. I mean, more podcasts as we've seen lately are hosted by younger and younger. So it's just wonderful, to see how the Beatles are just continuing to attract younger and younger fans. And at a festival like this, I mean, it must be even greater to see the, kids reacting to this music. And it's wonderful that you have so many different bands, and as you said, not repeating the same songs. Exactly. That is really great,
And we'll do a shout out to Hudson, who's in New England, not far away, but I don't think he could make it this time. And maybe in a future event. But you're right. It's crazy that the younger fans, have such a love for it and are studying it the way, the way first generation and second generation fans are. That's great.
They know their stuff. They really know their stuff. It's just phenomenal. And my God, I mean, to see Brute Force in person doing King of Fa, does it get any better? Come on. I mean, wow.
I'm afraid he's a character. Who knows? No, he's really special guy. He actually wrote and recorded, with the Tokens before he was Brute Force, Stephen Friedland. He had stuff recorded by the Chiffons, and,
God.
I can't even remember. There was a bunch of artists who Peggy March, little Peggy March, and
Sure.
Del Shannon, The Circle, all recorded stuff that Stephen Friedland wrote. And then, of course, he came up with this King of and the rest is history on the Apple label.
I mean, it's just great. There's a just great part of the Beatles story. There's always these wonderful, bits of Beatles history that are just so fascinating, and then this is one of them. So yeah, so when are you going to get a chance to see him, in person performing that? Come on, I
Right,
mean,
right. And
wonderful.
our friend Ken Michaels is one of the MCs of the event, so
Yes, indeed.
he'll bring when I'm running around taking care of business and I can't do the hosting. He'll be on stage doing that with us.
Fantastic.
Yeah, and he's been doing that forever. And he lives in Connecticut. He's not far away, so it's great when him and Joanne are at the shows. And if I'm not mistaken, their son, Jeffrey, is in one of the bands. He's the drummer in One Sweet Dream, the McCartney tribute band. So just
Nice.
a lot of family stuff, and it's friends. There's obviously people who are going to listen to your show who didn't know about it and didn't know that there was a festival going on July 10th, and they know they can go to www.fab4musicfestival.com for the information. But most of the people who go, I want to say, are perennial attendees. They've come before. They know they're going to have a great time. I recognize them by face, some of them by name, and it's a big family. It's such a great event. There's so many other shows that are, I don't want to say colder or more commercial, but I'd like to think that our shows have always had that personal touch, and people have always felt really welcome. Not just the fans, but also the vendors and the guests and the performers. I think that's been a big reason for the success all these years.
That is so cool. That's great. And by the way, I will put the web address in the description on my page. And after this is up on YouTube, I will be putting the address in the description, so everybody will know where to go. And also, I just wanted to mention your Liverpool tours. Now that's going to resume next year, right?
Yes.
Mhm.
So we've been doing trips to London and Liverpool since 1983. We start with London a few days, and that's sort of the hors d'oeuvres. That's sort of the precursor to the big deal. Then we stop on the way in Henley, and we visit Friar Park, and then it's a whole week in Liverpool, and there's just not a minute where maybe a few hours of sleep. There's not a minute where it's not all Beatles, and it's all the places. I love saying this because it's true. It's all the places you've heard about in the songs, that you've seen in the postcards, and you've read about in books, like yours. And it's so amazing. That's the ultimate, to go to Liverpool and to go with fellow fans where have the same love and you all have the same interests. Anyone should go. Go on your own. I'm not going to say don't go. But if you want the ultimate experience, come with me. I host it. I make sure everyone has a great time. You're safe. You're with fellow fans, and we get into places that you don't get into otherwise. So that's always a plus.
Oh, that's fantastic. And where can you find information on that?
LiverpoolTours.com. And it still has the dates for 2021. But the last holdout, just said, no, Charles, I'm going to wait till next year. So we actually rolled over all the 2020 reservations and the 2021 one. So 2022 is going to be a very big year. Of course, it's an anniversary of 1962 when the Beatles, played the Cavern and the Casbah and all those places, and Ringo joining and all that stuff. So it's a special year for that reason. But we're going to be bringing a lot of North American fans over from all over the U.S. Whereas the festival is very East Coast centric. People are coming from New York, New Jersey, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, all over New England to Connecticut. With the Liverpool tour, we have people coming from Canada and the West Coast and Chicago and all over. So it's really great that they come in droves, and we've been doing it a long time. And how crazy is this? But Elvis had an album, whatever 1,000 Elvis fans can't be wrong. We've had thousands of people come with us on these tours, and they come back, and nobody's ever been dissatisfied or said we left something out, or Charles, you were a drag. I mean, they have the greatest time. I'd like to think, again, with the family feeling of the festivals, I'd like to think that when I host it, I'm adding that extra element of personality and fun to the trips. And it's not like a senior citizen tour where, you do your sightseeing till dinner time, have dinner and go to sleep. We start partying again after dinner. So it's nonstop during the day, and then it's, fun at night. And even if it's your bucket list thing, even if it's you're not a youngster and you say, well, all right, I gotta go. I'll take my walker. I'm going on the tour. You're going to have the greatest time, no matter what age you are.
And I can tell you something. I don't think anyone would ever accuse you of being a drag. There are a lot of other.
I've dressed in drag.
Is not one of them.
I've dressed in drag once or twice.
That's right.
But no, I don't think I'm a drag. And Steve Sanderson is writing in. Did he miss something? This is the Beatles Music Festival in Connecticut. Not to be confused with any other events which are great and fans should go to in other parts of the country. This is in Connecticut. It's an East Coast event, and it's worth the trip from anywhere.
Absolutely, yes. This is a separate fest. This is a separate one. And Hudson said, "Thank you for the shout out." That as well. So so all of this information I will post on my page, and then in the description, once you see this on YouTube, will be in the description below. So boy, a lot of stuff to look forward to after a long year. So we're going to be back to celebrating together again, and celebrating the music of the Beatles, and just having fun again. So
can we tell your listeners that you and I are working on a Michael Jackson festival with 10 sound-alike, look-alike guys, or is that still secret?
I think that's still secret.
Sorry.
We've got it. Yeah. I mean, we'll unveil that later.
News to come.
News to come. Oh, and Ethan says hello. Hi, Ethan. So we'll unveil that later.
Another great young fan who really gets it, and it is so knowledgeable and so opinionated. Great people. I'm just I'm so honored that this umbrella of podcasts, nobody, there's no enemies, there's no competition.
No.
I love being on everyone's show, and everyone is on each other's show, sharing information, sharing guests. It's such a great community, and you're in the forefront of that, kid. So thanks to you, a lot of this is happening.
Well, I mean, really, we all support each other. We're really, we root for each other. We really do, and it's just it's been a great community, and we love having you on, and it's just always a pleasure, Charles. Really. Oh, Eva Van Syak. Hi, Eva. Good to see you.
Oh, Gary.
And Gary. Well, so anyway, but Charles, always a pleasure. And I meant what I said. When I saw your name all those years ago, I never thought, all these years later, we'd be good, be good friends. So, the famous Charles Rosenay. We're Beatle buddies. Exactly.
You're just 3 exclamation marks away from being like this with me.
That's right. Exactly. I'm at 1 now, so I've got a ways to go. I know that.
Kid, thank you for all you do for Beatle fans, and thank you for having me on. It's been a pleasure, and we have such great laughs, and we share just such great music memories. And it's the greatest music of all time, and I hope a lot of fans can make it to Connecticut on July 10th. It would mean a lot.
Sounds like a blast. I know it's going to be a great time. So I hope all of you who live in the area or want to travel out in that area, go. It sounds like it is going to be a blast, and you'll see my Talk More Talk cohort, Ken Michaels, too. So go. You won't regret it.
Thank you.
So, thanks, Charles. Really appreciate it. I'll see you soon.
Thanks. Bye, kid.
Take care. All right. Always great to see Charles. He's just such a great guy, and check out Fab Four Festival. It's just going to be a great time. So let me give you the scoop on what's going on with me, what I've been up to. Um, First off, I am going to be teaching a class, well, not a class, it's a presentation, for the Avalon Free Public Library. And it's absolutely free. It's going to be July 7th at 6 p.m. Eastern, and it's going to be on the history of Motown in the 1970s, which is a very important decade. I mean, they really changed in terms of their sound, and it's really a fascinating decade. You know, you've got, of course, when Marvin Gaye and Stevie Wonder transformed not only Motown but music. Period. They got into politics. They got into more of a a little more explicit lyrics, and it's just a transformative decade in Motown. So you're going to hear music, you're going to hear stories about how the decade just absolutely changed Motown and music, particularly in R&B, permanently. So just go over. I will again post the link. You can register, even though it's at Avalon Free Public Library, New Jersey. Anybody can attend. So I hope to see you guys there. It's a really fun. It'll be a fun night. So do check that out. Also, in the latest Beatle fan, I've got an article on the Beatles and Motown and how they intersected throughout the 60s. However, if you are not a Beatle fan subscriber, Bill King, the editor, published the entire article, the uncut, because it actually was a little long. He couldn't fit it in the whole magazine. So you can read the entire article on the Beatle fan blog, which is something new. So you can actually go right over to the Beatle fan blog, something new, and read the entire article. So I will post that with all the other links, and I do hope you enjoyed. I had a lot of fun working on that article, and I think if you're a fan, obviously the Beatles, but you're also a fan of Motown, you're really going to enjoy it. In the latest issue, I have my column, and I also have a review of McCartney 3 Imagined. So you might enjoy reading that as well. So I've got that. Talk More Talk. We did an episode. The latest episode was a bunch, which is about, we took the Beatles, solo Beatles, and we talked about albums that they put out, 2 albums in a row that were really strong, that each of them put out that were particularly strong. So we called 1-2 punch. And so we each brought our nominees for the ones we thought that where they put out 2 albums that were really strong in a row. That's up. The one before that, we did another listen, and we took Ringo's Bad Boy album. And Al Sussman was our guest on that episode, and we love having Al on. He's the best. So we really enjoyed having him. So that's up. Our next episode is not going to air until July 12th. So put that on your calendars. We decided, hi, Tom, good to see you. We decided to wait because the next episode would have been July 5th, and we thought everybody's going to be out of town. Nobody's going to be around to watch. A lot of people will be out of town. So mark your calendars. The next new episode of Talk More Talk will be July 12th. So do mark your calendars. Okay, what else? Also, I'm going to be, I also appeared recently on Ken Michaels' channel on YouTube. He has a great channel, Ken Michaels Radio, and I was thrilled to be on. I've been on there before, but we did another episode called Number 9 Dream, where he asked me to pick one of the Beatles, and he asked me 3 questions, and I was to pick like 3 things per question, and it was like, what was it, 3 underrated albums, 3 songs from his Beatles years, 3 from his the 3 favorite lyrics, and I forget the other one. It was a number of them. It was really fun. I had a blast doing that episode with him. That's up on his YouTube channel, which is Ken Michaels Radio. And thank you, Hudson. He said, I'm glad I picked the correct Harrison albums. Thank you. I'm glad you approve. So that's up on his YouTube channel. Do check that out. We had such fun doing that episode. And subscribe while you're there, of course, and subscribe to Talk More Talks channel. By the way, we reached 1,000 subscribers, which we were so happy. Thank you all for your support for our show. I know we've said it 1,000 times, but we couldn't do it without you. Last thing, I've mentioned this before, but in September, I'm going to be teaching a class on Philadelphia soul. Really excited about this. And you can still register for it. It's limited to, I forget if it's 20 or 25 students. They fill up. So if you want to register, even though September sounds far away, I would do it. I'd register when you can. I will post the link to the registry, and it's a fun 3-week class. And I'll go through the history, not only of the label itself, but also pre-Philadelphia Soul, the R&B that led to the development of Philly Soul. And what is Philly Soul? We're talking the OJs, Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes, Teddy Pendergrass, Patti LaBelle. I mean, the Stylistics. I mean, just some great music. So that will be in September. So you can check that out. I will post all the information about that. Okay. Sorry, that was a lot. All right. So just a brief chat. And if you're watching this on YouTube, you can join in on the comments there. So I don't know if you guys have been watching. There's a new documentary on Netflix called This Is Pop. And I've been watching it. It's about 8 episodes. And it purports to be sort of an examination of pop music. And I was pretty excited to watch this. Now, parts of it are interesting, although I feel like it concentrates a little too much on the 90s and early 2000s. But it does have an episode on the Brill Building songwriters, and that was certainly welcome. Obviously, I mean, how can you talk pop music without talking about the Brill Building? A number of the episodes, one of them talks about how Boyz II Men influenced the boy bands of, like Backstreet Boys, NSYNC, and how, in a way, they ultimately usurped Boyz II Men, even though they copied their style. I was kind of amazed, though, that they didn't talk about boy bands before then. Obviously, Boyz II Men didn't invent that, concept. They also talked about how the Swedish songwriters and producers have kind of dominated the genre from the late 90s on, and even how before that, I mean, kind of starting with ABBA, how pop songwriting and producing in Sweden has developed. That was interesting. But I just felt like, and I haven't watched the whole thing. Oh, and MOTOWN. Also and the show doesn't really come down pro or con MOTOWN, but it talks about how, it became popular and how, it just exploded and changed pop music for better or for worse. So I guess my question to you guys is, what to you is what do you think is like what comes to mind when you think of a pop song? Like, what do you think is an example of a good pop song. I think of a effective pop song as one that, it sticks in the brain, right? It's got a great hook. It's a hook that you remember. It doesn't necessarily have to have intelligent lyrics. Some of the great pop songs don't necessarily. It just has to be memorable. It has to stick out from the clutter that's on the radio. But if it does have intelligent lyrics, that's definitely a big bonus. I prefer ones with intelligent lyrics. It's got to have, of course, a powerful vocal. And when I say powerful, I don't mean operatic, obviously, but it should have a memorable voice, right? I mean, it should have one. To me, a pop song is one that sticks in the memory. So I wondered if you guys can throw out some, so Hudson, catchy, upbeat, good vocal, good production. Absolutely. So what are some songs that you can think of from any era? It doesn't, obviously have to be today. What are some songs that you guys think are good examples of, pop? Like what you think are maybe not perfect pop songs, but ones that you think are just well done. That are, the epitome of kind of like what Hudson just said. Because I've been thinking about this ever since I've been watching this series. Because like in the 80s, I think George Michael and Phil Collins were like the masters of the pop song. In growing up as an 80s kid, I mean, those two really knew how to write pop songs. I mean, they were, they had hooks. They were well produced. You remembered them. They were well sung, particularly George Michael. Okay, Al, hello. I was talking about you earlier and how much we enjoyed having you on Talk More Talk. So yeah, I want it that way. Yeah, and that was mentioned in this series that I've been talking about. Yeah, classic pop that could have been done in any era. Yep. And it's funny because, in a way, the lyrics don't even make a lot of sense. And even the Backstreet Boys said that too. I want it that way. What way? But somehow it's still catchy. You still remember it, right? I mean, it's and that chorus, tell me why, I mean, you remember it, whether you like it or not. So, and of course, the way the Backstreet Boys performed it with the harmonies, that further grains it in your head. So yeah, it's and as I said, this series talks about that's part of the Swedish singer songwriting producing team that put out so many hit songs for NSYNC, Britney Spears, all that, and that was a monster hit that they wrote. Max Martin is another songwriter that they mentioned quite a bit, and I've heard that name written a lot for, like, Adele, Taylor Swift, so many. Saturday Night, Bay City Rollers. And yeah, nothing brainy. I mean, definitely not, but it's catchy. Another song, I just heard it the other day. I can't stand it, but I know it was a huge hit. And astoundingly, the group was, I think they won Best New Artist for that year, but Afternoon Delight by the Starland vocal group. I can't stand that song, but I mean, look what a big hit it was. And I guess it had a catchy melody. I mean, it was huge. And I guess it had the naughty factor, so maybe people like that. So, hi, Plastic, I see you. This is a good question for you, as you like pop. I know that you appreciate good pop. What do you think is a good pop song? Because I've been watching this series, as I mentioned, a new documentary on Netflix about the history of pop music. But yeah, Saturday Night by the Bay City Rollers, classic. Um, yeah, scary, isn't it, Steve? They actually won. I cannot believe. I mean, they were one hit wonder and they won the Grammy. Scary, but they did. So, and as I said, I can't stand that song, but it was a big hit. Um, and I mean, I guess that's an example, though, of memorable pop. As I said, it has the naughty factor. It has the, um, you know, oh yeah, I only want to be with you. Was that Dusty Springfield? Was that version? Yeah. Now see, that one I can handle. That's a pop song. That's a good pop song. Because you've got a good vocal. I mean, like that's a really good vocal, good arrangement, and catchy melody. I mean, yeah, that I can. That's a good song. Number one cover version in the world. Yep. And by the way, that's probably another good sign of a good pop song, that it's been covered 1,000 times. Well, like I mentioned George Michael earlier, I mean, Faith, that was a great song, and it's been covered. I mean, it's been covered like in hard rock. It's been covered, just really funny ways. But that was just a damn catchy song. Almost had a little bit of a skiffle kind of sound to it. But you could dance to it. You could sing along. That's another great feature of a pop song. You can sing along to it. It's really. I mean, when I saw the episode about, yeah, wake me up before you go. I mean, you can snicker at the lyrics and everything, but that's a classic pop song. It was, oh man. I mean, I remember when that came out. I mean, everybody was singing that song because it was just, the lyrics were easy to sing along to. And it was so bouncy and everything. So I mean, that's a good pop. That's a pop song. Um, so and I remember when I was in college and grunge was the thing. There was a guy that was in one of my classes, and he was a classic grunge musician. Flannel shirt, Doc Martens, the whole thing. And he played in a grunge band. And he once said, I heard him saying to another person in the class how much he admired Phil Collins. And of course, he was snickered at. And he said, hey, you try writing songs that are memorable and can break through radio noise and that you remember. You try that. And I thought that guy really had it right. I mean, he was sort of saying, because I mean, during the grunge era, I mean, Phil Collins was, uncool and everything, but here was this guy who looked like Eddie Vedder, and he said, you try writing songs that, you remember, that stick out from everything else that plays on the radio, and that you can, that sticks in, stick in your head. You try that. So I always have remembered that, and that is a skill. I mean, it really is. So some pop songs, I mean, they may seem light, but and particularly the episode in the series on the Brill Building, they interview Neil Sedaka at length, and he talks about how he wrote "Oh Carol." And it's really interesting to see him discuss exactly the process and how he even studied what else was on the charts at the time, and how he and that sounds very businesslike, but it's smart. He looked at what was on the charts at the time and the kind of hooks and the kind of what people were responding to, and then he kind of adjusted his songwriting to fit that. I mean, that's smart. So it's an interesting series. As I said, I wish they weren't focusing so much on the 90s and early 2000s because, as you guys have pointed out, I mean, pop music, spans many more decades. So, but it's interesting to think about, what makes a good pop song? What are the elements that go into it, and what are some songs that fit that? So I wanted to throw that question out there and see what you guys thought. So I wanted to hopefully continue this conversation here and on YouTube. Throw that out there. What do you think are the quintessential pop songs? And Hudson, thanks for your thoughts about what the elements of a good pop song are. Those are really good thoughts. So if you have Netflix, check out this series. I mean, you may have some bones to pick with some of it, but it's an interesting series. This is Pop. It's called. So do check it out. It'll make you think about pop music. So well, I see we are running out of time. So as always, I have enjoyed my monthly visit with you. I will be back next month to update you on more stuff that's going on. And hopefully it'll be a little sunnier when I'm back, but at least I was able to do this outside. The rain cleared up right in time. And hopefully, oh yeah, pop music. By M. Yes, I do remember that. And that sounded kind of futuristic at the time. I remember that because it had that robotic sound. Yep, I do remember that, Steve. That was a good one. Absolutely. I did. Yeah, as I said, it had that, that real, techno robotic. I mean, now it sounds kind of funny, but back then, yeah, that sounded really like modern, So yes, I do remember that. Absolutely. So, yes, so I will see you guys next month with more news and of stuff I'm up to and more discussion. But as I said, do check out this documentary. It's really interesting. And I want to thank Charles Rosenay for coming on and telling us about this Fab Four Festival. If you are in the area, please do check it out. And I'm sure I will see you, if not before, on the next Talk More Talk. And I hope I'll see you for my History of Motown, the 70s presentation on July 7th, just next week. Good Lord. Time is really flying. So thank you all for tuning in. I love visiting with you. I love our chats. As always, couldn't do all this without you. And as Ringo says, peace and love. Talk to you guys soon. Bye-bye.